was raining earlier, but the sun's actually coming out. You can see it in various areas with these big light spots. And what did I read today? How about this one? More news about drone shows in general and technical difficulties. This one says, signal problems knock out second drone show. That seems to be a consistent problem around the world when it comes to this stuff, huh? As it says here, a second drone show to celebrate National Day over the Victoria Harbour last night was cancelled due to weather issues. The show, involving 600 drones, was scheduled to precede the fireworks display at 9 p.m., but the Leisure and Culture Services Department announced minutes before the scheduled time that the drone show could not take place due to weather problems. That's kind of interesting, as I would imagine based on this they went on with the fire show in general too. If it was raining heavily, for example, they'd cancel both, correct? It does go on to say here, it explained that drones could not receive good satellite positioning signals due to the occurrence of ionospheric scintillation, a rapid modification of radio waves caused by small-scale structures in the ionosphere over Victoria Harbour. The fireworks display was slightly postponed to 9:05 p.m. last night. An audience member, Wong, said although it was a pity that the drone show was cancelled, she was still looking forward to seeing the fireworks, saying, quote, "Good things are always hard to come by, so I'm not too disappointed." This came after a drone show scheduled for Monday night at the West Kowloon Cultural District was cancelled due to signal interference caused by a solar storm, said Long Wing Mo, former assistant director at the observatory. The show, part of the Next Generation Chorus, comprised 2,099 drones. And as it mentions here, they tried to salvage it with no luck, and what they ended up doing was showing pre-recorded footage of the drone rehearsal. It's better than nothing, I suppose, for a lot of people, but yeah, again, there's just been so much technical difficulties when it comes to running drone shows, whether it's weather-related or signal interference. Although in terms of drone shows that are successful, how about this one? It seems like there was another world record broken, this time by China again, where previously it was about 8,000 drones or so, I believe, and in this case, apparently now this one has 10,000 drones. It was to celebrate the Chinese National Day in Shenzhen. There was various shapes, for example, aircrafts, people. It just makes you wonder, how much more could you go? I know with the previous one that I read the other day, the one based in the US, that one had drones and pyro at the same time, whereas this one seems like it's just drones in general. But yeah, how much more could you put, I guess, in the sky? It makes you wonder too, do they do anything special in these shows in terms of mitigating things like signal interference and all that? Because they seem to be really successful with it overall. Can't wait to see something that humongous over here anyways, or would you have to travel to see these types of shows? And when I thought of combining drones, how about this story? You've heard of things like drone delivery with aerial drones. There are ones that actually go on the ground. They're robots, for example. I've seen them before, but here I guess they're combining it. This one says, Serve Robotics ties up with the Alphabet's unit for drone deliveries, launching pilot in Texas. They're getting a lot of drone deliveries in that area, huh? Is the whole place all robotic now? It says here, Serve Robotics, which delivers food for Uber Eats using sidewalk robots, said it would partner with Alphabet-owned Wing Aviation to use drones, extending the operational range to more than 6 miles. The pilot, announced on Tuesday, would take place in Dallas, Texas, and mark Serve's entry into the market. The tie-up will have Serve's robots pick up food from restaurants and transfer it to Wing drones for aerial delivery. The company's operations have so far focused on Los Angeles, where it delivers food and groceries for convenience retailers 7-Eleven and Shake Shack, in addition to Uber Eats. Multi-modal delivery will expand Serve's reach, enabling 30-minute autonomous delivery citywide, Serve CEO Ali Kashani said. While drones were once touted to be the future of package and food delivery, their adoption has been limited by a lack of spaces for takeoff and landing in cities. Unlike them, sidewalk delivery robots are designed to navigate urban environments, making them a more practical solution. Has anyone actually seen these types of robots in action? Do people actually leave them alone, or do people steal like the food, for example? I wouldn't be surprised if that actually happens. But yeah, this area just has so many drone delivery hubs, it seems like, in terms of pilot projects, and now this. And then I was reading this, which talked about things, for example, such as various media outlets being pressured to either talk or not talk about certain subjects. This one here says, China, India pressuring ethnic media outlets in Canada. Inquiry hears. The government of China and India are trying to influence to spur up populations in Canada by pressuring ethnic media outlets to parrot government positions and suppress red line subjects they don't want to discuss. The inquiry into foreign interference heard Tuesday. 2 Chinese-Canadian journalists and 1 Indo-Canadian journalist told the inquiry India and China use a mix of rewards and threats to affect what is covered and how it is reported. They said consulates and embassies have threatened to pull their advertising spending over media coverage in Canada. Indo-Canadian journalist Gurpreet Singh said the Indian government has refused to grant visas to those whose reporting it dislikes and has threatened to cancel journalists' overseas citizen of India cards, which exempt Canadian citizens from having to seek visas every time they return to India. And then with that, they jump on to China, saying China's red line subjects for news coverage are Taiwan, Hong Kong, Tibet, the Chinese Democrat movement overseas, and the Uyghur minority, said Victor Ho, former editor-in-chief of Singtao Daily, Vancouver. These are the taboos, he told the inquiry. You cannot release ideas opposite to the CCP. There are other issues the Chinese government seeks to amplify to increase internal conflict between Chinese Canadians and the rest of the population, said Ronald Lung, who hosts a weekly television show. Drug policy is one of the big topics in Chinese community because of the history of China. People in general don't like drug abuse. They hate drugs, he said. So they have a lot of difference with that what Canada is doing on this issue. Another one is gender identity, crime and safety, the indigenous issue, human rights. When China tries to amplify these conflicts in Western countries, we can see in the Chinese media in Canada, they will do the same thing to amplify those problems. While this is probably true, I wouldn't doubt it, this happens everywhere, I would imagine, in every topic, even here. It could be someone locally where certain organizations, they don't agree with someone's opinion, so with that, they'll use things, for example, intimidation, the threat of taking away their financial security in order to discourage them from talking about certain topics, or, as they say, the other way around, they'll enrich them in some way to encourage them to talk about certain things with a certain narrative. I mean, that's kind of expected, isn't it? I mean, in the simplest form, I think the most typical example is not political or anything related. It'll be more about, let's just say, hardware reviews for things like cameras and all that, correct? Or even drones. If someone only says all the positives and so forth, where they sign some kind of agreement with a company saying, you better not ever say anything bad about this or we'll take this away from you, or they have to agree to some kind of business clause saying you can only use our products and all that. I mean, it's kind of the same thing, isn't it? I mean, it happens all the time. So yeah, I don't know what exactly this will do in general or how it's bringing a light to anything, because again, this is kind of an issue across various spectrums. All right, see you guys later.